Welcome back to Chamber Exchange, a TV show. I want to thank our sponsors, Bank Hometown and St. Vincent Hospital, for helping make the show happen. And before I introduce our guest, Andy Davis, who is the Airport Director for Worcester Regional Airport, I'm going to make a little plug for the Chamber. Andy, if you don't mind, we have on December 6th at our Chamber annual meeting, we have Rich Davey, the new CEO of Massport, coming to speak. And so I'm sure he's going to announce some big things or hopefully some positive things. So we can't have you scoop them, but you have some good things to announce as well.
I'll leave that to the leadership.
Yeah. And for our viewers, if there's anyone out there that's interested in learning about the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce or the businesses that are interested in perhaps joining, please go to our website, worcesterchamber.org, or call us at 508-753-2924. Our website, you can learn about our programs and events, and we're always happy to have a conversation on what your business can get in belonging to the Worcester Regional Chamber or any of our affiliates in the central Massachusetts region. So Andy, a lot of good news at the airport, and you're hitting a busy time of year, so maybe you could talk to us a little bit about JetBlue and their flights to Florida.
Sure. We came off of a last season very strong. As you know, JetBlue expanded their service with new seasonal service to Fort Myers.
Right.
That was immediately popular. They started in January of this last year and wrapped up in April. This year they just started in October, so they're starting their season earlier and extending the season. Actually, it's twice a week until everything goes crazy with winter vacation and spring break, and it goes to 7 days a week right through the end of April. On top of that, the popularity of the other Florida markets, Fort Lauderdale and Orlando, which they have been flying to, Orlando has really been going through the roof. So they're taking advantage of the demand for spring break and adding a second daily flight to Orlando in the month of April 4 times a week.
And that's coupled with a change in the planes in terms of the seating capacity. So
right.
A commitment was made, and and you'll know the dates and time, but there was a certain 100-seater plane that then converted. Yeah,
actually, when COVID hit, all the airlines suspended their service, but they made a commitment to come back. And not only did they come back, they came back strong. All the airlines, American, Delta, and JetBlue, came back with larger airplanes. And we ended up having 60% more seats flying out of Worcester Regional Airport. And with that came the increased demand. The markets they started flying to had much higher load factors. So we had to make some planned changes and expansion, and we did some infrastructure upgrades, including expanding our parking lot by 160 spaces. We moved the security checkpoint from a single lane operation in the departure lounge to a dedicated area with 2 lanes now, and that actually opened up the departure lounge for more seating. But we're not stopping there. We're looking at other ways to enhance the service for our traveling passengers. Privacy rooms for nursing mothers, expanded concession for La Mirage seating area, improved and upgraded jet bridges and whatnot. So we're staying ahead of the curve for the expected increased demand.
Yeah, and this kind of just reinforces why Massport's acquisition of Worcester Regional was so important. Under their enabling legislation, they weren't able to invest in things capital-wise that they didn't own. So owning Worcester Regional Airport has allowed them to make a whole series of investments, both within the terminal, but outside the terminal. And maybe you could even talk about some of those improvements.
Absolutely. Since we took ownership of the airport back in 2010, we've invested well over $150 million in the airport. We pride ourselves on the utmost in safety and security. I talked about the security checkpoint expansion. Airfield safety, we keep a modern airport even more modern with safety improvements and upgrades to the airfield. We improved the reliability of the airport. The airport's 1,000 feet above sea level. We're in the clouds a lot, so visibility historically was an issue for the air carriers and their customers. We installed a Category 3 instrument landing system, which basically allows the air carriers to land in pea soup fog. So reliability is now a major push for us to ensure the traveling public, the flights will arrive and depart.
Yeah, and that was a major milestone. I mean, one of the challenges that we had in recruiting airlines was because of some of those fog issues, which would create diversions, which would then add costs.
Right.
And then for people flying, there's that dependability issue. But Massport and Congressman McGovern getting federal money, having that Category 3 instrument landing system. Every major airport in the country has that, as does Worcester Regional Airport now. And since then, you've seen a dramatic decrease in diversions and cancellations.
Absolutely. Prior to the Category 3 instrument landing system being installed, we had 2 flights a day, JetBlue, Orlando, and Fort Lauderdale. After it was installed, JetBlue added a 3rd flight. American Airlines added service, Delta added service. So that was the payoff for the investment that we made.
Yeah, and maybe you could talk a little about those Delta and American flights.
Sure. We're serving both New York airports, with Delta going to LaGuardia and American to go to JFK. In fact, we are partners with Discover Central Massachusetts. We're about to kick off a campaign to promote Worcester as a destination for New Yorkers to come visit and make it easy, fly right into Worcester Regional Airport.
Yeah, and there may be some skeptics out there that talk about is Worcester and Central Mass a tourism destination? Yes, it is. There's an economic impact study that came out that shows that it's pretty significant. Whether people are coming here for foliage, for experience at Polar Park, whether they're coming to ski at Wachusett Mountain. I could go on for. I could do a commercial for Discover Central Mass and all of their venues and locations, but there's a lot of reasons people come here.
Absolutely. And you just hit on the tourism, but think of a higher education and the DCU Center, which is the largest facility outside of Boston in New England. So there's a lot of opportunities for Worcester to be, and Central Massachusetts for that matter, to be a destination. Yeah,
and those flights that you mentioned to LaGuardia and JFK, generally their hours they run at the moment?
Mid-afternoon. So it's great point-to-point service where you can get in and out of New York in early afternoon.
Yeah, and literally you get on the plane and it feels like 30 minutes later you're landing in New York City.
And in fact, both American and Delta have a significant operation in those 2 airports, so there are connecting opportunities. I don't begrudge anybody taking a nonstop out of Logan, but if you have to make a connection, make the connection out of Worcester.
Yeah, and I've flown to both. The new investments in LaGuardia are really impressive and convenient.
Beautiful terminal.
Yeah, yeah.
No longer a third world terminal.
That's right. A partnership, before we know it, we'll be counting down the number of days of spring training, and that ties into some of the Florida trips, the partnership with the Woo Sox.
Yeah, we renewed our sponsorship with the Worcester Red Sox. We are the official airport, and that really ties in well because not only do we get to promote air service in the ballpark, but also through their broadcasting network during games. And there's a great tie for spring break. It's not just spring break; it's spring training, and those daily flights to Fort Myers. Right. You can catch your fix of baseball before the season even starts.
Yeah, and as we've seen in the last couple of years, the number of players that play at Polar Park and Worcester are almost shuttling back and forth weekly and sometimes daily between the Boston team at Fenway, or traveling around the country. And the mentions that Worcester gets now is pretty significant, and that includes down to spring training with players coming back and forth and whether they're going to report to Worcester or at Polar Park or Fenway. It's all in the news, and travel's involved.
Great partners.
Yeah.
Great partners.
Anything else we want to plug?
We're like I was saying before, we're continuing to invest in the airport. We're proving that people will support air service with the high demand and the high load factors, particularly on the Florida flights. So that's a selling point for us. We'll be doing a lot of promotion. We have been doing a lot of promotion. You'll see billboards out there. You'll hear radio advertisement. You'll see TV advertisement. Our goal is to get word out, and not just for Central Massachusetts, but our catchment area actually goes up to southern New Hampshire and Vermont, and down to Connecticut and Rhode Island. It's those folks that we'd like to educate more. So we'll be reaching out to those communities to let them know that Worcester Regional Airport is certainly an option.
Yeah, I was just, the tie-in with the Woo Sox is interesting. Just recently meeting with them and asking them, as they track zip codes of where people are coming, it is really incredible to see people from Western Mass, Southern New Hampshire, Southern Vermont, people from Southern Rhode Island and Connecticut, and then we know there's some people nationally who make a point of visiting these parks. So we're trying to create some continuity and catchment and service areas between Worcester Regional Airport and the Worcester Red Sox.
Right. I grew up in southern Rhode Island. I still have friends coming up for the games. They obviously, it was the Paw Sox out of Rhode Island, so there's still a following there. So great to have them.
Well, good stuff. Andy, thanks for all you do for Worcester Regional Airport, and we look forward to, along with you, hosting CEO Rich Davey on December 6th, and hopefully he'll bring some good news, whether it be continued investments or a sense of what's happening with the airline industry and how that might positively impact Worcester.
And Rich is no stranger to Worcester. He's a graduate of Holy Cross.
Holy Cross grad.
He really has his pulse on Central Massachusetts too. So he's a great addition. We love having him as our CEO.
Yeah, and as a former Secretary of Transportation, understands how all of this connects. So, well, thanks for the update, and we always enjoy having you on the show with that, and I'm sure our viewers enjoy it as well. Please use Worcester Regional Airport. Look at it first when you fly. And with that, we'll wrap up this edition of Chamber Exchange, a TV show. I want to thank St. Vincent Hospital and Bank Hometown once again for being our sponsors of the show.